Hello there, and welcome to Talking Nerdy, the show where we take various story arcs and events from current comics and we cover them. I'm your host, Obi-Wan Jabroni. Now, our story today is Last Annihilation Part 2. Now, consisting of the last four issues of this event, Cable Reloaded number 1, Wiccan and Hulkling number 1, Wakanda number 1, and Guardians of the Galaxy number 18. Dormammu has taken over Ego the Living Planet. Can the Guardians and the other cosmic forces of the Marvel Universe stop his reign of terror in time? Let's find out. So with that, let's start talking nerdy. First up, we have Cable Reloaded number 1, written by Al Ewing, with art by Bob Quinn, and colors by Java Torgalia. Part 4. Call in the big guns. Using the miracle metal Mysterium, revived from the higher space by the mutant circuit known as the Six, Krakoa has bought full status and recognition on the galactic political stage for the Sol system, with the new planet Arakko as its capital world. But with this new status comes new responsibilities. The other dimensional tyrant Dormammu has possessed Ego the Living Planet and is using him as a beachhead for a frontal assault on our reality. By conquering 5 magically significant planets, he plans to draw a mystic sigil the size of a galaxy. Rocket Raccoon and Doctor Doom have formed this plan to stop him, but they need expert help to pull it off. Fortunately, S.W.O.R.D has the ultimate soldier on call, back from the dead, and better than ever. Now, we open on Cable's ship, the Grey Malkin 2, and Cable arrives in space above Breakworld, and he equips a shield arm before launching himself out of the airlock into a halo jump and heading towards the planet's surface. Now, as he falls, we get a flashback to his mission briefing on the S.W.O.R.D station, and a little bit of a monologue. 1 hour ago, my first official briefing as S.W.O.R.D security chief since I came back. Station 1, the peak. It is just how I remember it from when I was a kid. By their timeline, that was days ago. S.W.O.R.D is fighting. Sorry. Commander Brand is working out how she feels about the new old me. Looking back, it's obvious. Kid Cable was a political appointee to keep the influential Summers family sweet. Decades of combat experience later, I'm finally the security chief she actually needs. Trouble is, we both like to be the ones in control, so now she's counting the cooks in the kitchen, and so am I. Looking back, it should have been obvious. If Abigail Brand is listening to your ideas, you have to be one of the greatest tacticians of the time. And then Rocket Raccoon entered the room. Seeing him, that was the moment I knew for sure. Bounce through time long enough, and you'll get one of these moments. Where were you when? I already knew, but I wanted to hear him say it. Ranger Rocket's a galactic folk hero in my era. Even on Earth, people tell the stories. He is remembered like Alexander the Great, crossed with Jesse James. He's a legend, and today is the reason why. And Rocket enters the room to break down him and Doctor Doom's plan to defeat Dormammu. Now, we switch back to the current time, and Cable crashes to the planet's surface, saved by his now destroyed shield arm. And he climbs out of his impact crater and takes his arm off and activates a hard light combat arm in its place that he calls Nikki. Now, he rushes to a nearby clearing and plants a Krakoan gate seed that opens a portal and lets his team, who consists of Cannonball, Boom Boom, WizKid, Cora, and Lila Cheney, through. And we learn that this is Cable's new security team, the X-Terminators. And before they can move out, an army of Breakworlders charge at them and attack. And they easily defeat them and steal their skimmers. And they ride into an empty town, and Cable tells them to stay ready, that this has to be a trap. It shouldn't be this quiet. Seconds later, a massive robot bursts from the ground in front of them, and Cable tells Cora to power up Boom Boom And when she does, Boom Boom yells and makes a huge power bomb with a 15-second fuse. And at that time, Cannonball rushes in and grabs the bomb and flies it up to slam it into the robot's head just as it blows. The robot topples and Cannonball returns to the group completely unhurt due to his invulnerability while blasting. And at that point, Whiz Kid and Cora split off from the group to go to the town's main computers and take control of the factories. And using them, he creates a planet-sized supergun while the rest continue to hold off break orders and keep them safe. When he's done, Lila goes to the gun along with the team and she teleports them all back to Araco. As soon as they arrive, Cable calls Brand and tells her the mission was a success. Mission was a success. Brand says good. They used most of their Mysterium to make some giant bullets to go with it. And that ends this issue. Taking us to Wiccan and Hulkling #1, written by Anthony Oliveira, with art by Jan Bazadua, and colors by Rochelle Rosenberg. Part 5, Entangled. Dormammu, ruler of the Dark Dimension, has recently taken possession of Ego, the living planet, and launched a galaxy-wide attack. 5 planets are in the crosshairs, including Skrullos and Hala, whose protection is entrusted to Emperor Hulkling and his court wizard Wiccan. But with Teddy's sword recently shattered into pieces, the couple have now overcome 2 battles on separate planets to protect the galaxy against the last Annihilation. Now, we open on the planet Skrullos, and we see Wiccan fighting off waves of mindless ones when a portal opens next to him, and Agent Brand and other mutants of S.W.O.R.D come through to help in the fight. With S.W.O.R.D's help, they easily defeat this wave, and Brand tells Wiccan that they have a problem, and she drops a bag with Hulkling's broken Kingblade sword in it. Wiccan says they can fix it, but they need to lock down this planet first. Now, we switch to the planet Throne World 2, formerly known as Hala. And Hulkling, some Guardians, and some S.W.O.R.D members are fighting off a mindless wave, and during the battle, the mutant Avalanche punches the ground, sending a shock wave towards the mindless ones. But he hit it too hard, and shatters the structure and bridge they are standing on, and causes it to collapse, sending them all, except for Avalanche, down into the dark pit. Now, back on Skrullos, we see Wiccan trying to repair the Kingblade when Bran walks in and says that she and has her people posted up where they're needed. And Wiccan says he needs more time, that something is wrong with the magics he uses to help fix it. And she tells them to hurry. They will hold off the mindless ones as long as they can. Now, back on Throne World, Hulkling, Hercules, Genis, and Thalia all awaken in the ruins of an old temple. And they take off down a path and come to a computer, and Genis starts to boot it up. And the giant face of the Kree's former leader, the Supreme Intelligence, appears before them and says the Dark Dimension incursion has been detected, fail-safes are activated, and starting the bomb countdown. Hulkling says he has an idea and shows them his wedding ring. Back on Skrullos, Wiccan is still trying to fix the Kingblade when a fire erupts in front of him and Dormammu appears and snatches him up. Wiccan shoots his hand into Dormammu's flames and says, I learned a helpful tip from Dr. Strange one day. Your flames, they're like a magic fuel. The fuel that I need. And he raises his other hand and redirects the flames through him and onto the S.W.O.R.D, restoring it to its full might and power. Back on Throne World again, Hulkling approaches the Supreme Intelligence and raises his ringed hand. And we learn that his and Wiccan's wedding rings are made of Hulkling's dad, Captain Marvel's negabands that helped him get his powers, and that they are connected completely. And a flash bursts through both rings as they raise their hands into the air collectively on both planets. And they are switched locations. Hulkling appears in Dormammu's hand, holding his sword, and says, "My sword disrupts magic. Remind me what you're made of again?" and drives the sword into his chest. At the same time, Wiccan appears in front of the Supreme Intelligent, and he unleashes all his build-up power into it, and into the sky, wiping out thousands of mindless ones, as well as the Supreme Intelligence, and stopping the countdown. And that ends this issue. Leading us to Wakanda #1, written by Evan Narcisse, colors by Jermaine Peralta, art by Jermaine Peralta, and colors by Jesus Abertov. Part 6, Orphans of the Empire. Dormammu, ruler of the Dark Dimension, has recently taken possession of Ego the Living Planet and is leading an army of mindless ones on a galaxy-wide attack. It's all hands on deck as forces from across the Marvel Universe, including the Guardians of the Galaxy, S.W.O.R.D, Wiccan and Hulkling, and even Doctor Doom, desperately work together to prevent the last Annihilation. Now, we open on Earth at the Wakandian Palace, and Black Panther and Shuri are in the war room talking on comms with Abigail Brand. And Brand gives them a rundown of the Dormammu situation and asks for Wakanda's help. Panther says he is unable to help himself, but Wakanda will help, and he knows who to send to help lead this mission. Later at the Vibranium mines, we see M'Baku sitting on top of a Panther statue, and Black Panther approaches and sits with him. Panther tells him about the mission and says that he wants M'Baku to be the Wakandan Spear of Hope to the stars and lead the mission. And M'Baku agrees to help. Now, we switch to the next day at the Wakandan spaceport. M'Baku is joined by his team, Shuri, Manifold, Vibrax, and a few scattered Wakandan guards. And they board a ship to take off, heading towards the Shi'ar homeworld. And Manifold makes them a portal, and they arrive to see an army of mindless ones attacking the planet's moon. Manifold teleports the team to the moon's surface and start to help hold off the mindless, while civilians run to safety. And while the team helps the Imperium, Manifold teleports to the highest building's roof, and he opens thousands of portals under mindless ones, sending them off into the void of space. But more keep replacing them as he sends them off. He looks to the side and realizes why they are attacking the moon and not the planet Ari. He teleports back to the team and says that the mindless are trying to turn the whole moon into a giant mindless one. And M'Baku says he has a plan, but they have to go see his brother. And he tells Manifold to teleport him and the team to the Wakandan planet Bast. When they arrive, M'Baku runs to his brother and says that they need the Cuckoo Array now. And we learn that the array is a vibranium satellite network that covers the planet and shakes it to death via gravity, heat, and tectonics. Yeah. Back on Ari, though, Deathbird, Smasher, and Super Guardian are still fighting off Mindless when a massive portal opens above and the Wakandan fleet arrives and starts to set up the array. They set it up and Shuri activates it, saying that it should protect the moon when a massive mindless magic blast smashes into the shield. And the shield flickers and she says that the magic is trying to bond with the vibranium cores and they need but don't have time to find a new power source. At that moment, seconds later, another portal opens and another Wakandan ship enters and boards Shuri's ship. Storm and Black Panther enter the control room, and Storm says that she has a power source for the array, and she gives Siri a piece of the new metal Mysterium. The team all go out to protect Manifold as he installs the Mysterium. And they get it done, and Shuri quickly activates the array, and a massive green blast bursts out from it, destroying all mindless ones on the moon and on the planet and space nearby. Now, later at the Wakandian flagship, Panther pulls M'Baku to the side of the celebration and dinner and says that he did great and that he will take the tech's info to the other troubled planets to help stave off Dormammu. M'Baku says good, and Panther tells them that that he wants him to be Wakanda's intergalactic regent on their planets. And M'Baku hesitantly agrees, and Panther says, "Today you've shown two empires how trying the impossible can change the universe, M'Baku. Let's keep trying that now that you're king on the intergalactic scale." And that ends our issue. Taking us to our final issue, Guardians of the Galaxy number 18. Written by Al Ewing, with art by Juan Fergarian, and colors by Federico Blais. Part 7. This Is Us. Dormammu, ruler of the Dark Dimension, has taken possession of Ego, the living planet, and launched a galaxy-wide attack. It's all hands on deck as the Guardians, S.W.O.R.D, Hulkling and Wiccan, the intergalactic empire of Wakanda, and even Doctor Doom must form an alliance to stop this invasion. This is the Guardians' last stand, and all their hopes lie at the least trusted member of their team. This is the last Annihilation. And we open on Chitauri Prime. And as the Doomots fight off the Dormammu-controlled Chitauri, Doom and his team teleport down, and Doom starts to set them up in a pentagram of his own and says, "I think this makes a good place to end things, don't you?" The Chitauri Doombot War and Dormammu invasion, all of it, and more besides. Here amid the tumult, we can deal a critical blow to the Dark Lord. Drax, you are the dead man. You have the right to the degree of cynicism. Stand over there, please. Moondragon, the subconscious realm is your playground, for you are the Moon Queen, mistress of dragons, tamer of monsters. Stand there. uh, Wise man, who is also the holy fool. Lotus Lord, the dance of days. I salute you, Star-Lord, the sun's master. Stand a little to your left. You are life, the spreading tree of knowledge, winding past the future group. Stand there. And that just leaves myself. The point of the star, the rising sign, the interface between magic and man, he who wears the mask, the ascendant. We stand on a planet Dormammu has possessed, invested his magical essence in. His power is all around us, and so is mine. For my Doommots are an extension of me. Their minds are my mind. Their hands are my hands. Their will is my will. And thus the magic they steal is drawn to me, to us. With this cosmic circle made from 5 stellar avatars, we shall capture and confine Dormammu's power. All of it. Yet, even with this casting, nothing is certain. Dormammu has vast reserves of magic, and I fear we have little time left with us. And a purple glow pours out of them all as Doom starts to siphon Dormammu's energy from the planet. Star-Lord says that we should use the power we are stealing, and Doom says, "I have served in your army, Quill, and dealt your enemy a mighty blow. Our deal is thus concluded, and so, by Dormammu's own fire, I dismiss you, with a teleport spell strong enough to send you light years hence, to where the galaxy needs you, for it is still in grave danger, Star-Lord, and Doom is counting on you to save it. For your own sake, do not fail me." And we at this point we switch to Spartix at the same time, and we see Gamora and Nova defeat the last of the mindless ones, and only Dormammu himself remains. Nova says that they are out of time, so I'm going to just punch him in his face if that's cool with you. And Gamora says no, that's suicide. When suddenly Dormammu screams out in pain, saying, "No, my magic! What sacrilege is this?" And at that moment, another portal opens next to Gamora and Nova, and Rocket drives the massive gun that Cable's team made through and tells them to get on as he approaches the still yelling Dormammu. And as he yells, two purple lights shoot from Dormammu's chest and into the gunship, and Star-Lord and Groot appear on the bridge. Star-Lord asks where they are, and Rocket says that Doom sent him right where he was needed, as well as the others. And Rocket tells Star-Lord to charge his sun powers into this machine, and for Nova to get behind the bullet and help push it to light speed when they shoot it. They take their places, and Gamora lines up the shot and yells, "Let's one-shot a space wizard," as she fires the gun. The bullet is launched at light speed into Dormammu's head, and he starts to turn to rock and ash, crumbling into space. Back on Chitauri Prime, Doom stands overlooking the planet's ruins and is joined by the Skrull, Sister Talonus, and says, "A bullet of pure mysterium, that which the alchemist sought, whose substance is anti-magic, mined and forged by mutant kind and fired by the galaxy's chosen guardians, infused with all the magic of the sun and more, with all the love in this poor, fragile cosmos, punches through the front of Dormammu's burrowed planet-sized skull, creates an exit wound at the back, and annihilates everything in between. Dormammu is rejected from the shell, returning violently to his dark dimension, banished and wounded. His host, Ego the Living Planet, is reduced to a new asteroid belt on the outer reaches of the Spartic system. Perhaps some sparks of sentience remain in the floating rubble. Perhaps not. Either way, it is over. It was a gamble, true. Had the raccoon scheme failed, the Dark Lord might have destroyed us all. But Doom does not gamble against the odds. When all went as planned, as I planned. But you played your part to perfection, Sister Talonus. My involvement would have raised suspicion, but you could seduce Ego into your cult of vengeance, opening the door for his possession by Dormammu, and thus for Dormammu's own campaign of conquest, all according to my design. You did work. You did my work well, sister. And in doing my work, you have earned your reward. This planet is now yours, along with the power vacuum Dormammu created. All hail the new Chitauri Queen." And we learned that Talonus was behind the fire cult that corrupted Ego, and she asks if Doom got all that he had wanted. He turns to her and shakes his head, saying, "Not all I wanted. The mutants remain obstinate, though perhaps I have planted the seeds of doubt in them, and the sword of space remains with Hulkling. But I have the magic of Dormammu, far more of it than the Guardians guessed, bound into my armor until I choose to unlock it. A potent weapon, which I will keep to myself until the proper moment, the moment of reckoning." And that ends the last Annihilation story. I hope you enjoyed the video this week. Join us next week as we cover the War of the Bounty Hunters finale. Thanks for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, and share the video to help spread our brand across the world. Also, leave a comment down below. Feedback is always welcome. You can follow us on the Jabroni Nerd Network Facebook page or on Twitter at Jabroni Network. So, until next week, guys, keep talking nerdy.